Okay.
Wow.
Welcome to Small Towns Unscripted one more time.
Yep.
Mr. Steven Stamps, thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is Nicole Turner, Tara Kalin. My name's Russ McClellan. All right, so we love victims of this show, and you said you hadn't really watched.
I'm not a Facebook kind of guy, but I might have to be now.
Yeah.
Have you seen any episodes?
I haven't.
Okay.
So that's on my list now.
So you're a virgin.
I saw your promo though yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I got a message from a guy I used to work for coaching football, Domser, and he said, "Hey, how would the interview go?" And he didn't know we'd
I had
moved
to edit
it.
those.
Yeah.
It's like,
He didn't know we'd moved it.
forgot to call the video
I'm gonna have to get on it now.
I actually think it's kind of cool when our guests haven't ever watched it before, because then it just seems a little bit even more unscripted.
More unscripted.
More unscripted.
That's the name of the. Yeah.
Well, I had to lie on that video. I said you're a good friend of mine, so
Well,
trying to get ratings.
we'll still do that.
I'm teasing. Can't get away with anything in the small town anymore, god dang it. You know, Steve, I've known you a long time, as long as I can remember, I think. But I want to start by explaining why we're doing this, basically. You know, in a small town, you end up knowing of people a lot, but you don't really know them. Or if you do know of them, you knew them at a time in their life, like high school, or an event that happened. Like we had Dale England, and we were talking about how, you know, the only time I knew Dale England when I got arrested by him, you know. So, you know, even if he deserved it, he thought he was a jerk or something. But in reality, it's unusual in a small town because you see everybody, right? So, but you just know of them, but not them. So this is one of the reasons, just to help people get to know each other. And I think we have this following now of people like, I didn't know, you know, even their own family members are like, I didn't know Dad did that. Or I
No,
didn't know
I'm
Grandpa
sorry. You're finding family members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last week I had a cousin I didn't know I had. So.
Well, hey.
Oh, we're
better.
related? Oh, boy, here we go.
And the other reason is for, you know, kids, grandkids, cousins, nephews, aunts, you know, the historical record from the source. Like if I would have got your dad, and sorry to hear about his passing, and but you know, if I could have got your dad and my dad sitting down here and had them talk about whatever, like it would have been cool to have, right? So this is going to be, I appreciate you doing it because that's what it's about. We press it pretty hard here and locally, but so we're not really influencers or anything. We're just simply trying to tell stories.
We're working on that.
Limiting language.
I'm not a visionary.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, nobody would ever say that about you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about Jim and Doris, Steve. When did they come to this place, and from where?
Yeah. When? Why?
Well, my grandpa McGuire, my mom's side, he came here in '05 as a baby, and they spent a winter on Bear Mountain. They were loggers out of Wisconsin, and so they spent a winter on Bear Mountain because my grandpa's uncle had started a little mill up there.
What?
And the stories that I read from my great-grandma's diaries and stuff is that they about froze to death and starved to death that first winter. But then he got a timber claim in Swanson Gulch, which for people that don't, you know where the ski hill is, it's the next canyon over. So they got a timber claim up there, and so they moved up there. And he started working at the mill in Ordenvor. So nowadays, you think, God, I got to drive all the way to Wenatchee. He rode his horse from Swanson Gulch to Ordenvor on Sundays so he could work and get off on Friday early enough to ride his horse home.
Get out
Yeah,
of
so
here
now we
right
complain about,
now.
I got to go all the way to Wenatchee today. So that's how that family started. So my mom was born here. It's like my youngest boy graduated exactly 100 years after my grandmother.
Wow.
1922 to 2000.
So McGuire was whose?
That's my mom's side of the family.
So you know Jackie, my mom's sister, married a McGuire. Did you know that?
I don't know if that's related or not.
May not be. They had
MAG.
a place.
This is MAG, not MC.
Oh yeah. But see, this is the stuff we're finding out.
Yeah.
Don't stop trying to be related to everybody.
So they were here from early on.
That's way early.
Yeah,
so,
real early.
So your mom's family homesteaded, essentially.
Yeah.
And then your dad's family.
Dad, so we were just talking off air, but you know, my dad's from Arkansas, and they were poor dirt farmers, but they didn't know they were poor. But so my dad's like 18 or 19. He and his brother and another guy decided well, let's drive up to Wyoming and work hay harvest. We can make some money. And then they went to Idaho and did some potato harvest. They got into Yakima and did some hop harvest. Made it all the way to Kashmir and picked some apples. Well, they went home with money in their pocket, so they thought they'd hit
Yeah,
the
this is
mother
like
lode.
the gold
Yeah.
rush out west.
So the next year he came back and stayed. So that would have been late 40s.
So that was at the time where the migrant workers really were the wino train riders.
Young hippies, all kinds of
No,
different
way
people.
before. Yeah, way before that. So when Dad started farming, that's what he would get the guys off the train.
Train, yeah.
Yeah, and they would work long enough to get what they needed, and they show up, and then they might not show up the next day. But that's who the hobos, what we called them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had the stick and the
Yeah,
knapsack.
yeah. So it was true. You'd find
Oh
cab.
my
We had
gosh, you guys are
cabins
like
for them.
Looney Tuning this.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah. So that's how that got started. So Dad, and then his parents, my grandparents, followed him up here a couple of years later, and they stayed and worked up here. And, yeah.
So your mom's here, your dad moves into town, your
Yeah.
mom's original here, and one day they meet.
We keep asking the story, and my dad never said anything about it. My mom, I think they used to have, well, even up into the 70s, they used to have dances on Saturdays.
Yeah, my
in
dad
town.
talked about that.
So I think that's how they kind of figured.
Who was it?
things.
Was it Larry McFadden that said his family he lived there where the dance hall was?
Oh,
Really?
Where
Yeah.
it was cannons, like
oh yeah,
Right by Safeway.
yeah.
Safeway.
Yeah.
Stuck out over the water. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he said it was a dance hall. It was my house. It was like
Yeah.
it's like 5 things that they
And
did.
then they had a
in the
parking lot and everything. Yeah.
parking lot for the miners that would go to Lucerne.
Yep.
And that,
Oh,
my
the
dad said that's where they used
minor
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like a minor, like drinking alcohol.
Yeah, yeah.
So how old was your dad when he passed away?
96. Yeah.
So they were.
So they were married 73 years, almost
Oh,
74. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
But I had a great, my grandmother, her brother and his wife made it 76.
Dang.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I don't even have a shot at that title. Not even
No.
close.
Yeah, Shelly and I got 30, but I don't know about that. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
How old is your mom now?
She'll be 93 this summer.
She's doing
Yeah,
great, huh?
Still living on her own and
Wowza.
Wow.
giving me a list every day. And
Keeps
luckily, she lives in the middle of the orchard, so I'm there every day anyway. So
Yeah.
it worked out good.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
So-
very cool.
Yeah. So those guys ran around my dad and your dad a long time. And Earl
Well,
and all those guys, the
they-
whole crew.
Yeah, it was just what you did in those days. Everybody went to work, and
Mhm.
yeah, Dad worked at a tire shop for a few years, and then got on with a guy on the South Shore that we farmed until '08.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Jeez.
until we sold that. But yeah,
One of the things we like to talk about is from everybody, like I grew up here anyway. What was it like growing up here from your perspective?
oh, I don't know how you could get any luckier. I mean, everybody lived. That's the one thing I've noticed, and we talked about this at a class reunion. Everybody lived in town. Nobody lived out of town. You had 1 or 2 guys, maybe one guy up in the Boyd, but everybody lived in town. So everybody was like 3 blocks away from school and
Bicycles.
bicycles, and everybody go to the
You ran around the neighborhood together.
you go to the park and swim every day when you were young, and you'd dive for golf balls by the drive-in and sell them to the guys. Green, because the golf course was there where the trailer
Yeah,
park.
yeah, yeah.
Stuff
Did you
like
know
that.
So that in the city they used to hit golf balls into the lake.
And you could go dive down there. Kids, we're kids. We'd
Yeah.
get a handful. We'd sell them for enough to go to the drive-in for
No,
lunch.
okay, so
That's
this
cool.
is what we did on my family farm too. My grandpa sold part of his farm across the creek to a golf course developer. So my grandpa's farm became golf course
Yeah.
property, and there was a billion golf balls hit into the creek. And so my cousins, when they were young, would go fish them all out, clean them up, and sell
Sure,
them.
mhm.
So then when we lived there, that's what Brody would do. He loved
Yeah.
hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the funnest thing. And then we'd stick them in egg carton. We'd wash them all up and stick them in egg cartons
Match them up.
and
Yep.
sell them
Yeah.
Yeah.
back to the golfers. It was
But-
like, that's so fun. Like, that's
Yeah.
a great childhood memory.
Small town. I mean, about 6th grade, you were probably in the same boat because your dad was in the apple business. You had a job in the orchard whether you wanted it or not. And your buddies would go with you, and you could have apple fights, but you had to, you just worked, and
Well,
sports and Boy Scouts and whatever you wanted to do was
it's
there.
telling because, you're still here doing it.
Remember the apple fights where you'd get the sticks?
Oh,
put
how
the
far
little
could you
green
throw
apples.
those?
And chuck it. Yeah.
You guys are ornery.
So we got in trouble a couple times because we had all that stuff on the South Shore on the highway, and we'd wait for a semi to start down the highway, and then
Yes.
if you got down there and you could hit the side of that semi, that was a big deal.
Okay, I've literally done the same thing.
Yeah.
Right over here where Mill Bay is now
Yeah.
was an orchard, and we would do that, and it was all fun and games until one time we hit a cop car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that
you're supposed to just pick semis.
Well, it was dark.
So who are your buddies growing up in town?
Oh geez.
Like elementary school?
Yeah, Rick Trinkle and Kevin Bessler and Brad Bowers, and I mean it was everybody did everything.
Do you remember how many kids you grew up with in your senior class, for example?
68.
This is a lot.
That's a lot.
And we talk about this a lot, but I don't know if it's still that way. Maybe it's still this way, but I think the apple farming stability of all the small towns led to great sports rivalries generationally.
Oh, there's no question. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's that way now because the apple game is so different. It's like larger corporations and stuff. But when you have grandparents in the stands that played each other, you're like, my grandkids are going to get revenge from 1928.
Yeah.
It was and 3 channels in the dark at 4 o'clock. What are you going to do?
Well, yeah, you get a light out by your hoop in the backyard.
Yeah.
And that's how you kept going and stuff. Yeah.
And it was it's funny because you talked about that dance hall where my dad said that's where the fights were every week, and then you pick each other up and buy each other beer and then do your thing. It was not like evil violence. It was just like pride or ego or whatever. and then now it's funny to think about where we're at now, and not just farming, and everything changes, right? So it's kind of one of those, I'm always perplexed because you hear your dad talk about his dad or how he grew up walking uphill both ways 3 feet of snow.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think it's just a perception that it was different. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is but then sometimes things do change.
Yeah.
And towns do change. Right?
I think we were way luckier.
We were way luckier.
Way luckier. And I spent a lot of time with one of my mom's brothers who's into the sports side of things, coaching and stuff. So we spent a lot of time together, and he would talk about the things that he did when he was a kid. Gosh, I wish I had it. And that was only like 25 years earlier, but I think we're lucky as heck.
Well, you have 3 kids.
Yeah.
Now, and they're all pretty much in sports.
Well,
following kids.
Zoe was more into the horse side of things.
Yeah.
So she and Shelly would go down the road with the trailer, and Shelly learned to drive the horse trailer, and maybe I'd have one group of kids going somewhere for baseball in small town. You would take my other kid because that family could take him and go to a different tournament.
Right.
And that, again, small town, how lucky can you get when your kids can be around people that are the same? So I
think there's a common now, talking to all these people, I think now there's just so many rules now. Like, I just don't remember having rules.
Well, having them or following them, or that's kind of
you might have had
different.
some that you didn't follow. But
Yeah, it's like 2 different
You too.
stories.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, right now they put so many consequences on if you break a rule. Now, as a kid, like you just have more consequences. You're on social media. If anything happens, like I don't know, it's on your record forever, and that can impact you going to college. Like it's just different.
Yeah.
Back then, like the cop would just take you home, and your dad would make it worse than than the cop would.
I heard a story. My dad's youngest brother grew up, when he came out with my grandparents, he was finishing school, but whatever. And he said that he and buddies would go out and drink a little beer. Well, the cop, I don't know if you want to use his name, but anyway, he said that if they found you were being stupid and drinking beer and drink, so they just rough you up a little bit and tell you to go home and don't do that again.
Yeah.
Instead of going through all, that
Paperwork.
was, and you probably didn't do it again.
No, less paperwork.
Yeah.
Like
No,
I mean, I don't know about that.
more
but
consequences,
just
less paperwork.
More effective, maybe.
Yeah. Well, litigation changed the
Yeah.
world too.
That's very true.
Litigation. Nobody said I'm going to sue you when you got in a fist fight.
And it's not on film. Everything's
Oh,
on film
right.
now.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
No,
right.
my kids are lucky too, I think. Even though it's changed a lot, I still think what a great place to raise a bunch of kids. And I know there's people say, "Well, you didn't have access to this or this." Well, yeah, but you had access to the orchard and to the lake and, whatever you wanted to do.
Some things have not changed.
Yeah.
The constants are there, and
Yeah.
those are, to me, big deals. The lake's a big deal.
Yeah.
The mountains are a big deal.
It's
The
just-
tight-knit community with eyes on your kids,
Yeah,
being there
it's
for
just-
each other, it's
yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah, and they
It's a big deal.
got in a lot of sports and they got in a lot of activities, and they still can.
Yep.
And I still got 2 kids playing, so paid off.
So, Steve, what year did you graduate high school?
Wow. Okay, I was 12 when I graduated. No, 73.
73. And so you went to, were you an Eastern guy?
No, I went to Highline Community College.
Oh.
Played a couple of years of basketball there. Then I graduated from Central with a business degree. And then a few years later, a guy that had been one of my assistants playing basketball at Highline took the women's job and invited me to come and be an assistant for that.
And that was that's when you won the state champ or the championship?
At Highline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
82?
82. So I spent 3 years there.
So, what years were you at Central? I'm curious.
I would have graduated in like 78. I spent one extra semester, one extra quarter in college, and my mom thought, "What are you doing? Why is it taking you so long? It's like one extra quarter."
Yeah. When you play basketball.
Yeah, so 78, I think.
Okay, because I think maybe you were there with some uncles of mine playing baseball.
I didn't play there, but yeah.
But I mean, they were there.
Yeah.
That was the great years of Dean Nicholson basketball teams, wasn't it?
Those were amazing, yeah.
Yeah, Central Washington, the guys, if you don't remember, maybe you could tell what was going on there. It was
I think they went to nationals like 21 out of 22 years.
wild times.
And every year was kind of a small town packed gym. Here's a good story. So they're playing Eastern for the league title, and they'd won everything up till then. Well, the Eastern coach happens to come out with this quote in the paper that even a blind chicken finds a kernel of corn now and then, thinking they're going to probably finally win one. So pre-game, one of the big boosters in town owned the pizza place. Everybody went there to drink beer. He comes out in a chicken suit before the game, carrying a cage with a live chicken in it.
Oh,
and he's running around. Of course, the crowd's going crazy.
Word.
And they get done with warm-ups, and they're about ready to announce the starting lineup. And he'd gone back in the locker room. He comes back out, and the chicken's dead. And so the crowd went nuts. And, of course, Central won by like 30 or whatever. But
these are different times.
These
different times.
They had some really good boosters at Central, let's put it that way. That recruited some really good players with some of these things called cash.
Yeah. They would get guys out of the Army that were 28. They would get guys that had bounced back. They always were good. It was a fun time. Yeah.
And then you got inducted in. Your record, is this true? I read online that your record as a coach is 177 and like 45 or something.
At Wenatchee Valley.
Is that everything?
At Highline, we went 3 years. We lost 13 games in 3 years. We went 4th, 1st, and 2nd in 3 years. And that's when I got offered the job at Wenatchee Valley.
And then you were inducted into the Northwest Athletic Conference NWAC Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's off of that Highline stuff when we won title. And
When you look back at your coaching, did you ever coach guys or always coach girls?
I've coached guys, too. I did 12 years of football at Chelan.
Oh, high school, yeah.
Yeah, but not college, yeah.
No. Yeah, because it's funny were you ever teaching and coaching, too? Or were you always just coaching?
No, and that's the reason I got the Wenatchee job is the guy that was retiring was going to stay on and teach.
I see.
And they needed somebody that didn't need a teaching job. Well, then he ended up Jim Sollers, who ended up at Portland and had a great career.
Because you were farming the whole time.
Farming, and winters are slow. You could get away. Well, as we know, that becomes a full-time job.
No kidding.
Coaching, trying to recruit, But it worked out. I did 8 years at Wenatchee. won a lot of games, had great kids, and
Yeah. Who was your assistant coaches then?
Jim Cannon.
Jim Cannon, yeah. Economics.
Yeah.
I haven't, because of him and the way he taught, that guy worked up a sweat when he taught. Like he
Constantly.
Like he was a Baptist preacher?
Oh, no.
He'd start writing on a chalkboard 5 minutes before the class started.
Yep.
And like I have an economics minor because I took so many classes from him because he was so smart.
Yeah.
What's he up to these
I
days?
still talk to him. He lives up the Aniat. He's retired, but yeah.
I think he's one of the better economic professors, like way better than the ones I got at Central.
So it would be nothing for us to get on the bus. We're going to travel to Walla Walla. That's 4 hours. We could talk all the way, not just basketball, but he's a history guy too.
Oh, yeah.
And so then you go through the
super
games,
smart.
you get back on the bus, and it's 4 hours. You're still chatting about things, and you stand in the parking lot at 2 a.m. talking about how we got to get ready for this game. And yeah, he was a great fit for me because I was a little bit wilder in those days and maybe yelled a little bit too much, and he was that, come over here and I'll tell you what he's really trying to say. And it was a great combination.
He used to say, like,
He was the yin to your yang.
Yeah.
every day we'd have to read in his class, he'd have to read the Wall Street Journal, the front
Yeah.
page, and he'd have
Yeah.
a quiz on it.
Yeah.
And then he'd always say, if you can tell me that something's free, truly free, I'll give you an A in the class. And because there isn't anything, there's no free lunch. Somebody's paying the bill somewhere.
Yeah.
So it was just, but I mean, the debates that we would have, like,
Making you think, though.
yeah, it makes you think.
Making you
And I
think.
think that's one of the things you fast forward 30, 40 years, and all of a sudden everybody's like wants a handout. Everybody like no consequences.
Nothing's free, yeah.
Like gimme, and don't work. So I think that guys like that, I just think he was not only a great coach, good guy.
Oh yeah, great for kids. It just
How important is assistant coach in coaching?
I've been on both sides of it, and that's why I think I was an okay assistant because I knew my job. I didn't have to have that in charge thing. I mean,
You're not competing with the coach.
yeah, I didn't have to be. I didn't have to have that at certain times. And times I liked it and I did it, but there are just other times So that I think that's a big key. We just had a great thing, and that's one of the things when Jim Sollers, who was leaving, he told me, he said, you need to do two things if you get this job. He says you need to be nice to Dick Piper at the Wenatchee World, the sports editor, and you need to get Jim Cannon to help you. Those are the only two things the advice he gave me. So yeah, it worked out really well.
What are some of your besides obviously winning the title at Highline? What are some of the memories of coaching girls? Basketball that pop out to you, or the players? Like,
sounds kind of corny, but I think in the 8 years I was at Wenatchee, I had one girl that didn't stay eligible. And I was telling somebody this the other day. I said I recruited a lot more mothers than I did kids. I convinced a lot more mothers than I did kids to come and play because I said, look, I'm going to get your daughter out of here in 2 years if she listens to me with an AA degree.
Right.
She can go anywhere she wants. If those are the kind of things that I look back and say, well, I only had one girl and she didn't get her grade check signed by the right person. Somebody signed it for her.
Who are the top three players you coached?
Jennifer Saunders from Cascade. You played with her brother.
Yeah, I did.
And
Jim was a great guy.
yeah, I still chat with her occasionally. Great story. I had Gonzaga coaches come in after the season because I had a big Dutch girl out of Canada. I recruited hard. I was all over the place.
I think Jennifer was there when I was there.
Well, actually, Jennifer was a different time. So she was young for her class, and so after her first year, she was the league MVP and all that as a freshman, and she was so young she could play on an 18 and under AAU team. So she's in Yakima playing at a tournament, and the Gonzaga coach calls and goes, hey, well, what's up? What's this deal with this Saunders girl? And I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, she's down here playing. I go, yeah. And he goes, well, and I knew him. He goes, well, I'm going to offer her tomorrow to come to Gonzaga. So she's gone. That happened a lot.
Bye.
Yeah.
That happened a lot.
Yeah. Well, she could shoot the lights out.
She was just
Jim was a great shooter
rat.
too, man.
Yeah.
In practice, he could light it up.
You remember when he had that great game at Big Bend, and
That's what I love about Steve. You can remember like
your coach.
Oh, I
Your
know. He
coach
remembers them all.
went off because he subbed in Jimmy Saunders, and he went off and D'd up on these guys, and he was promoting him for days and days after that.
sometimes Jim would get a little nervous and excited to get in the game, but in practice he just made us look the starters look stupid.
Yeah.
Because he would just beat us up. He never missed.
See, Rusty played at Wenatchee when I was coaching.
Yeah,
he
it's
was
fun.
playing for the boys, and I was coaching the girls.
And Frank.
And Frank Phelps. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun because we went from Manson to like high school. Like we went from like a small high school to a big high school.
high
Yeah,
school. Yeah.
I mean-
yeah.
It was a lot of fun back then.
Yeah, I had so many good kids. I mean, I don't know if you know Brian Hendricks, the Wilbur Ellis guy here, and his
Of course.
sister Angie. I recruited her, and she was a freshman, and the Gonzaga coaches at that time had come in to watch another girl, big girl, that I'd got from Canada. And after they got done playing and watching them play, they said, well, it's a no-brainer. We're going to offer your big girl, but who's that? And it was Angie Hendricks.
I mean, did you just want to lock them out of your gym sometimes, though?
It just
You're doing the work for them.
I always say the junior college now, Division I guys are finding out now what it's like to be a junior college coach. I say that all the time
Because of NIL.
NIL guys are leaving.
Yeah.
Portal.
I never knew. I mean, I was pretty lucky, and I had a lot of kids that would stay. But if you lost a girl, you had to get another. I mean, it was just.
Revolving
And so
door.
Gonzaga took her right after her freshman year, that kind of thing. Rosemary Adams, 6'3" girl from East Wenatchee. Nobody'd recruited her, and she was a pretty good athlete at 6'3", big and strong.
At that time, especially.
And Jim Sollers, who was at the University of Portland, came in to watch a practice at Christmas time. He was home in Wenatchee, and he's like, "Who's that?" I
You're
go,
like, you missed her.
You had there were a lot of athletic, like Deb,
"Oh yeah,
Patty Haynes.
yeah." We had
You had some really athletic.
Tanya Greenfield.
Tanya, of course, yeah.
And that was another thing that in
Angie.
recruiting, I could slide a paper across the table and list 25 girls, not just for me, but from before me, that got 4-year scholarships. So we got them out there. The other best thing about Wenatchee is we had a crowd.
That's
Yeah.
That's different.
I didn't even think about that,
That
obviously,
is
as
a
a high school
cool
kid,
small
but
town.
that's why it's a high school. That's why it feels like a high school.
It was packed.
There's no other colleges.
It was packed.
Yeah.
You would go to junior college games a lot of places,
Oh.
and there might be
No,
25
I mean, but
people.
like I just had
10
a friend
people in
who
the
was
gym.
playing at Eastern for the last 2 years, and we would go to games and it would not be
Yeah.
packed.
And it was
you
that
know?
feeling
and I'm
of
thinking,
Manson,
what?
too,
Where
where-
is everybody?
When you got
this is a college town.
seating on one side,
Yeah.
and it's right above, and you have 200 aggressive football players in the stands
Yeah.
that are maybe allegedly drinking beer.
Oh,
No.
I don't know if that happened, but they would be loud like
Yeah.
they drank beer, really loud.
Yeah. And that wall's on the other side.
Just
and the
echoing it all
out-of-bound-
back.
Oh, yeah.
It reminded me, like Frank and I used to say it all the time, in the old gym in Manson where we played.
Oh, I love that.
With
old
the
gym.
stage on the end.
Yeah, it was like that,
Yeah.
You
kind
could
of.
kick those wooden bleachers and just
Yeah,
make it
super
real
loud.
loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real loud.
And
Yeah,
Ramey,
it was a lot of fun.
And Ramey was loud inside of that, so he was able to.
Rusty played for a guy that was only there for, 6 months?
Yeah, well,
Got
I think
the
he was
job.
fired day one, but he did the whole year. I don't think Wenatchee was quite ready for Ramey.
And Ramey wasn't maybe ready for Wenatchee.
Yeah,
But,
but he was one of the greatest
Obviously
coaches I've ever had, and not just coach like you said, you recruited mothers, what Ramey
Yeah.
did, he built men.
yeah.
Because if you could stay in that arena with him, you came out different as a person. Adversity didn't mean the same thing.
But like
When
in
you
a
got out.
general pattern kind of a way.
In a very good
That's a
get the
no.
most out of you. Like
Yeah.
you weren't going to quit at anything you did from that point forward. If you were able to survive, probably like a lot of guys, because his dad was a Marine drill sergeant.
Yeah.
That's
And,
what I'm
and
getting
if I
at.
think he
Yeah.
had 10 kids or something. I mean.
It was a bunch of, in Southern California.
And then his dad ended up, his mom.
Well, that's why his name's Ramey. I think they were in France when he was born.
Yeah.
Military.
Yeah. So he had a pretty intense life growing up, and he brought an intensity level that I don't know if I've ever seen. Like maybe Bobby Knight. I don't
Oh,
know.
we were talking about it yesterday when it was here, and you and Frank Phelps were turning out, and it was early in the year, maybe even conditioning stuff. And I remember coming out of my office and looking over on the floor over there, and you and Frank were just laying on the floor. And I yelled, "Hey, Manson Trojans, what's up over there?" And they didn't move.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? I walk over there and I'm going, "What's going on?" And they would open an eye and look at you, and that's about all you got out.
They were toast.
They were a little tired.
I just think that you don't see it very often in life anymore. I don't think you would know more than I, but I don't know if you could push kids like that.
It's pretty different.
I don't think
he couldn't get away with, I mean, he didn't get away with it then.
I'm seeing
like he
kids,
was like, what is this guy saying?
I'm seeing kids that practice like on their phones.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Having snacks.
You break your
I'm
phone.
like, we didn't stop. We got a water break.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've been on quite a few interview committees and for hiring coaches, and that's one of the things I ask them. How are you going to use the phone now as a tool, as opposed to constantly, Tara, put your phone away. We're in a meeting. We're watching film. Put your phone away. Now, if you're smart, you'll use your phone as a tool, and you'll say, okay, we're playing Manson tomorrow. Who are their best 3 guys? Tell me that, and then tell me what are their 3 strengths that they have, so that we know. I think you have to, because it's such a media. These kids are so focused on that stuff.
Well, you go to an event, I was watching the UFC event last week, Saturday night, and the whole crowd, everyone, the whole crowd.
Yeah, they got their phone out.
Yeah, they're all videotaping.
Yeah.
So you're not going to break that. You're not going to change that.
I think you got to figure out a way to use it.
Embrace it somehow.
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
And the communication thing is, you can use that also. The parents need to know. As you know, parents are involved. And
I would like to have seen a parent try to talk to my Ramey.
Yeah,
that wouldn't work.
Yeah,
my dad loved it.
Well, it was a fun time. We had great kids, and you learned a lot, and
Okay, so I have a question for you on the flip side of the coin of your life. Why are you still farming?
I know Rusty and I were talking about it before. I don't know. I guess it's a lifestyle it's pretty hard to beat. If I want to come and do this today at 11:30 for a couple hours, I can. But if I need to get up at 4:30 tomorrow, so it's when I'm there at daylight, I can do. Or maybe it's frost control and I'm up all night or whatever. It's just a lifestyle. And I started going to the orchard with my dad before I started kindergarten.
Yeah.
And I would sit in the Jeep while he was pruning, and he would come down and warm it up for a while, and then he'd go back. And that's just the way it.
So do you feel lucky and blessed in a way to still be doing it?
No question. And I'm not disappointed, because I know it's changed, but my kids have not. They work for me in the orchard, but it wasn't something that they wanted to do from the beginning.
Yeah.
But and that's okay, because the world's changed, and the farming thing is not what it used to be.
No.
Yeah, it's not as much fun. There's a lot of paperwork nowadays, and we have too many apples. That's, to be honest, there's just too many apples out there. We've done some of that to ourselves.
Well, it's like what's going on now politically with tariffs and all of that.
When
you go back to NAFTA, that, at least from my opinion, NAFTA was a brutal move for the apple farmers in this country. It was tough.
It's been a rough sell overseas, and it's been a rough sale. And consumers change. The young people that are going to the store now, it's not like before. Everybody bought apples, and now it's like, I might go and buy one. I'll try that. And we've done it to ourselves. If you go to the store now, there's 19 varieties that all look the same, unless you're buying a Granny or a Golden, and the rest of them all look the same.
I'm always curious about this when it comes to, you remember Red Chiefs, Top Reds, Oregon Spurs, all the old stripes that tasted great, stored well,
Stamps red.
Crisp.
We had our own for a while.
Right.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
So why? Tell me. I know the Unitacolor sorter was invented, but why did the marketing companies in the 80s decide, let's start throwing apples away because they're not red enough? Because I think, is that the marketers? Or
That's that's the
Sure.
retailers wagging the tail of
the
everybody.
retailers?
Yeah,
Like the tail
It's
wagging the dog.
retailers that are dictating. I've talked to sales guys over the years, and I remember talking to a guy about selling to Walmart. He'd say we'd spend 3 days in the beginning. We'd spend 3 days in Bentonville. We're golfing, we're at dinner, we're talking, we're meetings. He goes, now you get 20 minutes, and you got to present your case to why does Walmart need this product? Why do
Because
they need
now
this?
they have their own economy.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
driving the world.
Well, and domestically back in the day, and I don't remember what year it was, but there was a time where the commodity farmers, there was an X number of them, like 300 growers,
Yeah.
just to make it up.
Yeah.
And then there'd be 600, 300, 600 buyers. And then in 1 year almost, it seemed like 300 buyers went to 6. And that would be the Krogers and the Walmarts and
Costco's.
And then they just absorbed. And then I think it took several years, if not a decade or more, to get a marketing consolidation, right? Chelan Fresh.
Yeah.
Because you remember back in the day, it was like, I mean, blue Chelan or trout was like Manson or Chelan. I mean, it was literally an ideology, tribalism.
Yeah.
So this is just my theory. When I was, I've been in farming a long time, so I might be wrong, but I just remember like the rest of the world decided to consolidate their power, and that independent farmer, which was the farmer's strength,
Yep.
was like,
Yep.
I ain't consolidating across the street.
Exactly.
You know?
I'm growing better fruit than that guy.
Yeah. So then
Yeah.
they're like, great for the buyer, because they were like, okay, we're going to go to your neighbor, and it just created this auction to your 20-minute.
Still that way?
Still that way.
It's
yeah.
just at a bigger deal.
Wow.
If you don't want to buy that sugar bee for $60 a box, well, I'll just go buy Honeycrisp for $30, and it's almost the same. And,
And I want some asparagus, and I want some of this, and I
Yeah.
want some of that. So you have to figure all
yep,
of that
you
out.
got to, and now you've got to send your own guy, like say you're Chelan Fruit or Trout or Gebbers, or whatever, you got to send your own guy to Costco and tell them this is how you display it.
Oh,
here's
my
how you got to
gosh.
rotate it. Here's how you got to store it. Before, that was the retailer's job. But now you have to have somebody that does that.
So
Oh,
it's
this is
a
too much.
cost to the farmer.
This-
Cost to the
Trickle down
farmer, and
economics.
they don't want
Jim
just
Cannon.
a 40-pound box. Some of them want a 20-pound box. Some of them want baggies. Some of them want clamshells. Some of them want. So that
Okay.
changes your cost at the
Right.
warehouse. So
Yeah.
now you've got to accommodate every one of those guys in a different way, and that's ching 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 ching.
I really feel I don't think it's to scale sustainable, but I believe that is why the shift has been made the last decade plus to more farm to table. Because
Yeah.
people are cognizant of that.
They're starting to go
And
turn it back.
yes, and it's like it's consumer driven, right? The consumer is going,
You just
I
have
don't
you have a
really-
scale problem because you have all the
For
apples
sure.
grown in one spot.
I
and
mean,
so
I get
Yeah,
that.
Washington
but
gets-
I mean, I love the movement.
Yeah.
I love the concept. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I hope it continues to grow and snowball and it benefits some farmer
Yeah.
somewhere in
There's
some
some
way.
ways that you can. Yeah, but
you lost 90% of the people.
yeah.
So at the end of the day, if you had a magic wand and could go back to 1980, let's say, what would you have asked for? And if you were in charge
in
of
the
all
farming
apple
world,
farming,
in the
yeah.
farming world,
Yeah.
we've done a lot of it to ourselves. We've planted every little nook and cranny, every hillside, as technology got better, we grow too many apples. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day he grows 20,000 bins of pears, and he's part of Stemelt, and he said their management said, look, if we're going to actually look at this the real way, we probably need to eliminate 30% of the apple crop in Washington to be profitable. And then they turn around and the management will say, well, you've got a block down here and it grows galas and they're not very good color. They're old varieties, but yeah, you can't take those. There's 2,000 bins of galas there. You want to take those, but they're not. They're not. So I think if you look back, you could say, hey, let's control the how much we put in the ground. Look at the Cosmic Crisp. Went to a meeting about 6 years ago, and they said we're going to have 500,000 trees in the ground this year to get it going. They said next year we'll have 6 million. I'm thinking, and what is it now? Who knows how big it is now?
How long have we been chasing varieties?
Yeah.
Since 86, 85?
Yeah.
I mean,
And we just overproduce, and we can't sell them all.
How about if we outlaw dwarf root systems?
See, I can remember the days when my dad was working in
Like Imla 9,
they were
Imla
30 by
26.
30.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
trees were 30 feet apart and the rows were 30 feet
Yeah,
apart.
or 50 by 50.
Yeah.
Johnny Appleseed seedlings, right?
And now you might plant 3,000 trees to an acre.
Yeah. Tree planters, fast as you can.
Yeah, and they're 18 inches
Okay,
apart
let's
and they're
talk about
double rowed.
let's talk about some of the important things in your life. How'd you meet your wife?
Like farming's not important. That's funny.
Farming's not important.
People aren't as
Well,
important as farming.
His
You're talking about
wife
an
is
apple
more
farmer.
important.
I'm just kidding.
So that's a pretty good story. So I get the job at Wenatchee Valley College, and I'm coaching there. And I was finished with that. I wasn't coaching anymore, but the principal here at Chelan said, hey, could you come in and look at these resumes? We're trying to hire a 7th grade teacher and maybe attach it to the girls' basketball job at Chelan. So I'm looking at these resumes, and one of them is my future bride's resume because I recognize played at Bellevue Community College. And, well, we played them all the time. So I'm trying to think back what year. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. I'm thinking back. And then, so I just called her because the principal said, do you know any of these other? And so I just called her and said, hey, you think you could coach? She was like, heck no. I said, I played in basketball in college, but I'm not going to be a coach.
I'm no
whatever.
coach.
Well, they didn't hire her. But then 2 weeks later, they hired her for a 4th grade job. My sister was teaching at the elementary at the same time. And you start playing co-ed volleyball, and you start, we had to get rid of her boyfriend, things like that. Other than that, so she's 30-some years later, she's still here.
Yeah,
So,
you're still there. You did all right.
yeah. So that's how it worked. Yeah.
I love that. How old were you when this was all happening?
Oh, 30-something, yeah. She's 10 years younger than me, so
Yes,
I'm not stupid.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm getting at that.
Yeah.
So you'd been busy.
Yeah, 3
Doing your
kids.
thing.
Zoe's done at
and
University
here
of
comes
Iowa.
Shelley, and then,
Quinn is still at Carroll College in Montana. He has 1 year of eligibility in football. He's graduated, but he's going to hang around and see if he can get on the field. And
You had some big kids, man.
Yeah, Shelley, my wife's like you.
Yeah,
she's
she's
5'10" and athlete, and so yeah. Quinn's about 6'4", 220, and he's a quarterback. And then Reed is 6'6", 225, and
Jeez.
he's playing baseball at Eastern Oregon. So
Yeah, that's a great looking
yeah,
family, man.
yeah. So there's
beautiful
yeah.
family.
Reed's got a couple of years left. Quinn will be done. Yeah.
I mean, I just remember this era of Steve and Shelley
What?
meeting. Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys were a big talk of the town.
Oh, geez.
For sure.
Not that important. She might be, but yeah.
It was a cute story.
Yeah.
It was a good meet cute, and it was, I don't know, you guys have been fun to watch. And
Oh
know
yeah,
and see your
she's a
family
great teacher and
grow
yeah,
up and-
she's her. If you ask her principals, they'll tell you that
All right, so what's the secret? 30. How long you been together now?
30.
So what's the secret?
Get out of her way. No,
Do what you're told.
yeah, didn't follow the
daily.
Yes,
list.
dear. Yes,
Follow
dear.
the list. Buy a bigger house. No, it's just great. I think the kids, to me,
Yeah.
that you got to get it done because you got kids.
Commonality.
Yeah, you got to take care of each other because we got these kids. We got to.
I mean, is there an element? I mean, this is how I think of it, but do you think of it this way? Is there that element of teamwork, that life of team?
Oh yeah, every day. It's still. I mean, Quinn's coming home tomorrow, and it's like, who's getting groceries? And he hasn't been home since Christmas. And we've been seeing Reed on weekends because we've been going to watch his baseball. But
Fun.
yeah, you just have to. Yeah.
Well, then let's talk about what Zoe's doing. Pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
Zoe, yeah, my daughter.
I've never heard of this.
I don't know if people know. Zoe had some learning issues, and she was not a same track high school person that other people, So it's been a tough battle for her. But we found a program, and I don't know if there's people out there that it's called UI Reach, University of Iowa. We researched it. We had to get interviewed. There's some articles in the Wenatchee World that followed her progress. And they immerse you in the college world, and she's come out of there like a whole new person. And she,
That's awesome.
you know,
Awesome.
So cool.
works jobs. But anyway, she's starting her own business. It's called Zoe's Dirty Sodas. And I didn't even know what a dirty soda was.
I still don't, but I'm sure I'm going to find out very
It's
soon.
a rave all over social media.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on the boba. I thought boba was the.
No, that's last year.
That's last year. That's so last year.
So
Now, that's when you know that you're like
But dirty
old
sodas.
because you're not hip to
And,
that.
I don't know if this is true, but I think she would know this. Dirty sodas is more, it comes from South. I think it's somewhere in the South where like they take like Dr. Pepper and they like mix it with like coconut cream.
Yeah.
And it's like delicious.
Well, here's your wife's posting. I'll read it so we have it on this podcast.
Okay.
Okay.
Zoe
Oh,
is
boy.
beyond excited to announce the upcoming launch of the brand new mobile soda shop, Zoe's Dirty Sodas. Zoe's Dirty Sodas
Yeah.
is coming soon to Lake Chelan with the boldest, bubbliest, and most crave-worthy soda creations on wheels.
Yeah.
From classic combos to wild one-off-a-kind flavor mashups, you'll be hooked up from the very first sip. It's not just soda. It's Zoe's Dirty Sodas.
These are like a big
Yeah.
deal. This is cool.
Okay, wait, did Shelly write that or did she use chat to get that?
So
Shelley's
it's
pretty
basically-
good.
It's like a
but
trailer. It's like
I think,
a
yeah, we had a
food
trailer
trucks.
built in Oregon, and we just
Yeah.
picked it up. Worked out. We could go watch Reed play baseball in Eugene, and picked up a trailer on the way home.
This is
Nice.
so
Who
cool.
would
But
have guessed?
yeah, I think she uses some
Okay,
AI or
good.
whatever.
All right. I just
Yeah.
want to know.
And all of
Yeah.
us entrepreneurs are weird anyway. Like that's
Yeah.
good that you have. Like,
Yeah.
You don't follow the track of
No,
other
you
people.
have to be
Zoe, you're gonna
completely
do great.
different
Yeah.
to make your own mark.
So we're in
Yeah.
the process of getting all the paperwork done, which
Bureaucracy, it's fun.
if yeah.
Yeah.
It's
best.
going to be a hit, though. I think
Washington
she's going to be
State's great.
super
And so
successful.
Fun.
we're trying to navigate all of the rules and regulations of where you can be and where you can't be, and
Oh, yeah.
Blah,
we're
blah, blah.
and
Bureaucracy
so
of-
yeah.
But like,
so
like events, fairs, rodeos.
we're
Oh,
we're already
weddings.
attached. Yeah,
Oh,
we're already
yeah.
attached to a bunch of rodeos. We're
It's called Philip.
What's that?
Philip, you know his rodeo game.
Oh, the one in Wenatchee.
Well, he does that. His whole father-in-law stuff. He'd be a
Yeah.
good connection.
They haven't
But
been in
even
Chelan for
she
a while
was
though.
down by the state park
Toyota
in the
Town Center.
summertime.
Well, that's contracted.
I know. But that
Yeah.
would be popular.
You know, we're trying to navigate all those things
That's
to
exciting.
try to get more out in front of people. Like a classic would be to go to the car show in downtown Chelan,
Sure.
but you got to navigate all the right
Yeah.
things, and we're not through that process yet, but we'll
Yeah.
get there.
That's so cool.
That's
So
exciting.
Yeah, it's a neat adventure
Good for
for
her.
Zoe, and yeah, somebody's gonna have to drive the truck, pull that trailer.
Sounds
but
like Shelly's already lined up for that with the
she
horses.
used to pull a 30-foot horse trailer, so she'll figure this one out.
Uh-huh,
So, but,
uh-huh.
yeah.
Back to that teamwork.
So
You
t-
guys will be Rochambeauing for his.
Yeah.
So when did you start getting into the rodeo stuff? 'Cause I didn't
My
really.
dad's always been a horse guy. Like you
Yeah.
know, my dad got his first horse when he was 13, and we still have horses on the farm. Just following it.
Pee Wee.
What's it?
Were you starting with Pee Wee?
Well, that was part of it. With Greg, I got, neighbors to Greg farming next door and got to know him, and we became good buddies, and we still are. And I would travel with him if he needed some partner, We made it from the Dalles, Oregon to Calgary one time in 11 hours. I don't know how far that is, but it was no big deal. He would say, "Hey, do you want to go to Cody, Wyoming?" I go, "I don't know. When are you leaving?" He goes, "Oh, about an hour." It's like 4 o'clock. He goes, "Yeah, I ride tomorrow afternoon." Like,
Gotta get there.
Well, that's kind of how that works, right? You got to hit as many rodeos as humanly possible.
And it was hilarious. And I had so much fun. And that's when, I think it was 2010, he showed up at my shop and said, "Hey, by the way, I took over the rodeo here at Chelan, and you can help me." Oh, really?
Oh, you can.
Yeah. And between Christy and Greg and I, we were at PRCA Rodeo of the Year, small rodeo of the year for 3 years in a row. But we approached it with the idea that what would have Greg liked when he was riding? You got to take care of the cowboys.
Yeah.
You got to have hospitality. You've got to make it an entertainment thing, but you also got to have money. And during coming out of 2008 in the real estate
That was
world,
great.
I
Yeah,
mean,
made so
everybody
much
was
money.
succeeding at that point in life.
Reset. It's
we
called
had,
reset.
because you had to have,
Yeah.
like, say for our rodeo here, you had to have $25,000 in the bank. You can't count on your gate or your parking or anything. You got to be able to pay your cowboys. And we raised the purse on every event. we added money to get guys here. And so, I mean, we'd have 60 barrel racers. And so you'd have 5 hours of slack during the day. But it was a lot of work. It's a year-round job at the same time, but it was so much fun.
And it's such a big part of this community. I mean,
great crowd. They still get great crowds, and
for
it's
sure.
still, yeah.
I love it. I think
I still have a barn up
sometimes
there.
better crowds than when I was a kid.
But it always takes somebody like you or Greg or like Jody Southwick.
Yeah.
Like just
Somebody to bust their
always
butt.
up there, and Cheyenne soccer, you know, the volunteers that run the show. You know, we had that conversation with Carol Ools, you know, Greg's mom.
Well, she was our money lady. So we approached it with, we formed a nonprofit. We weren't in it to make money. So we paid, okay, Lions Club, we're going to give you $1,000. You're going to do all our parking. Okay, FFA, you've got the cook shack. We'll split it with you half and half. Gun Club, you're in the beer garden. You run the beer garden. We'll give you X. So we didn't make any money. I mean, we didn't want to. We
It's
just
a
wanted.
community thing.
Yeah, and
Didn't
you know
lose
the
money,
football team did the cleanup. So we sent, I don't know, half a dozen kids to football camp that wouldn't have been able to afford it because.
Yeah.
So we did.
This
we
is
didn't,
community
Yeah, that's why we
oriented.
did it.
Yeah.
And we got into. Remember they used to have First Fridays.
Yeah.
And we talked them
Oh,
into
yeah.
July was the rodeo Western theme. So we had a mechanical bull downtown, and we had line dance lessons, and
Oh, that's fun.
It was cool.
you had to get the community back involved and made it a fun time.
I had friends that were rodeo clowns that did this.
Yeah.
Bullfighters.
That did this our rodeo here a couple times,
Yeah.
and they really liked it. They really enjoyed it.
Well, who wouldn't want to come here, and then you can go to the lake,
Yeah.
you know, the next day or whatever, if you're not traveling.
I don't think is it the same? Are the kids now doing junior rodeo as aggressively as we did?
I never did it. I wished I would have. My older sister did. She competed all the way through, but you've gone to the junior rodeo up here. I don't think right now it's as big as it was like say 10 years ago, but that's a 2-day 8 in the morning till 8 at night thing, and there's 19 kids that are 5 and under that are running poles, and we got
It's funny because we had Jim and Marge on the podcast.
Oh,
you know,
gosh,
an episode.
yeah,
You should watch that one. And then Desiree and I and Greg and Kevin and all the kids, you know, that grew
there
up
was a
together.
great group.
But you know what I thought after listening to Jim and Marge, we had fun. You know, I didn't realize how much fun they were having. They were.
They had the most fun.
They had the most fun, like travel trailers.
Oh, the rodeo
horse
world
trailers,
is
and
hilarious.
It was just the thing that whole group of people did for.
And see, Shelley and
a long
Zoe
time.
did that with the horse show. They showed, and they would use, they would go on the road.
Camaraderie,
And,
yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's all family. It's
Great
that's
people.
like Brody's in 4-H, and that's
Yeah.
So is Brody going to do it?
about. Well, I got him that mini horse, so we're getting him on there and seeing if he likes it. We're starting out low commitment,
Take them up to.
and then
Greg's
we'll
bull ride.
move on to the
Yeah.
saddle club.
There you go.
And
I
then
don't know
we'll
if Greg still has his mechanical bull or not.
See.
So.
The funny thing about Greg's mechanical bull with the dads drinking whiskey, watching
Oh,
us,
jeez.
there was no, like, I don't know, that hydraulics had no limit. So you think you're good? And then we like bet to see who's going to run the mechanical bull.
Well,
He'd
go
literally throw people like 20
Go
feet.
look at Logan's left elbow right now,
Little kids.
Oh God.
because we had it downtown for the,
First
First Friday, and Logan was pretty good at it, and Greg was running the controls. Same
yeah.
thing you were talking about.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Wow.
How
Go
good
look
are
at
you?
go look at Logan's elbow right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was an overrule.
I
Little
didn't know
wonky.
somebody ran the controls. I thought it was just
Yeah.
an automatic,
No.
like,
Oh,
30
no.
seconds. It
No.
like did its
No,
thing
they
It's not
start
like those
out
videos
kinda
you see with the girl
slow,
in
Yeah.
the
They
bikini.
speed
on-
it
yeah.
up, and then next
No.
thing you know, someone's getting
I didn't
chucked.
know there was like an angry like uncle that's over there just like
Drunk.
Angry, drunk.
Happy. I'm gonna
he's
get
like
you
that
back.
kid just broke my
Well,
Yeah.
here's how we would do it. We'd smart off as we got on.
Yeah, and see that's the problem. Then they'd be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'll teach you."
That might have just been his problem. You never
Exactly,
know.
yeah.
No,
I-
my dad started going to the national finals
Yeah.
when they opened in '85 in Vegas,
Yeah.
and he didn't miss he didn't miss one until probably 2012,
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
Your dad was so good. Your dad was just a cool
He's just
dude.
a horse guy.
He's a cool dude, man.
He showed horses, and
You told me
travel.
the other day when we were talking about doing this, you're like, weren't we, you just said like out of the blue, weren't we lucky growing up with dads like that?
we were around our dads every day.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like you get out of college and you go get a job somewhere, and you come home once in a while. We're just around our dads and moms every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and they pass away, and you know this, your mom passed away, and now your dad. I tell friends that, like, moved away, right? So when I decided to stay here, I think the kids were like 10 and 5 when I got divorced with Grace, and Grace and I both agreed to stay here and raise the kids every other week. I didn't know until my dad died that was the perfect decision, because then I started thinking. Somebody told me this once. They said, "Oh, well, they say they live back east, and they're from here, and they're doing well." And they're like, "Yeah." I go, how are your parents doing? "Yeah, great." You know, guys I grew up with. I go, "How often do you get back?" "You know, twice a year." And so I'm like, well, I got 10 years before I think I have to worry about my parents passing away. I go, well, that's 20 times. It's not 10 years. It's 20 visits. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I got that, to your point, to be with them every day.
You saw them twice a day.
Twice a day.
And they saw them twice a year.
And,
so that's a huge difference.
When you win the lotto to grow up here, first of all, and then you get that kind of person. And there was a lot of them. That's the wild thing. It was.
Oh, you look around, the Delbert Dietrichs, and you know, everybody. That was just the way it was. And those are magical times for this town. Is obviously the towns, like all towns that are cool. People find them. Everybody wants to be part of that. Cool.
You got these real estate guys that are going to bring people here.
You know any of those guys?
No.
No, not just all of us.
Heard of it though. Heard of it.
Yeah, and if it wasn't, you know, it's like this double-edged sword, right? If there wasn't the money, if there wasn't the wineries, this town, if it wasn't a lake, you know, this town would be like so many towns throughout places that don't have the attractions. And so there's no perfect world, you know?
Yeah, you got to take some of that with it, whether you want it or not. I mean, I look at the stuff on the South Shore that we used to own over there, and gosh, it'd still be nice to be farming that still, but then there's a great winery and two great wineries there, and
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, everything changes, that's for sure. Nothing is forever. And you just have to adapt. You know, like that's a great. I hadn't heard that about cell phones and kids. Like, use it to your advantage. Don't try to.
You got to figure it out, because you're not gonna get rid of it.
What an interview question! Wow. Wouldn't even dawn on me.
And I think in this town, we talk about the challenges that money brings so many people with affordability, with taxation. You know, that's a major problem everywhere. Like, the haves and have-nots. Are, you know, that discrepancy is getting wider. Where now, when you have a place this popular, the teachers and the nurses and the cops and the hospitality workers and the farmers, they're not making the $250 you know, a year at home on the internet. So it's not easy. You know, you have to find a way, and it takes a community to work together, because what I see happening is when people say, I don't like those damn developers. It's like, okay, you do know that if there's only so many houses and there's a lot more people want to buy them, they do go up in value. So you kind of need to balance it, because it's not going to change.
They just want the houses that are currently here to be less.
That's just not going to work. So there has to be this understanding that we need growth, we need supply and demand to offset one another. You hope you can just create smart growth where you don't end up doing silly things. But unfortunately, to your point about what Zoe's dealing with, the bureaucracy. You know, it used to be in land development, Steve, that pipe and acquisition costs and labor, these are the things you're worried about. Now it's
all the other stuff that's behind a desk somewhere.
It's like
just permits.
It's going to take 5. Like, I'll give you an example. 2 weeks when I started my career in real estate, you could do a short plat, 4-lot short plat, 3-lot short plat, 2 weeks. Now it's 2 years. If you're lucky. And then you're lucky if about 18 months through, they don't tell you, oh, by the way,
do this.
That'll be another $100,000.
So
people don't realize that. And the reason I bring it up a lot is because if people realized really the bureaucracy, you would hope they would be a little more aggressive towards politicians. Like, hey, enough.
Let's get some stuff changed here.
And maybe a little less judgmental, because it's not like if you put an environment where the only thing you can do is this, and it's not what anybody wants. There may be a reason that's the only thing only option, because the government, essentially all 7 different layers of the government with these people that have power, and it's challenging.
It's like getting a directive from somebody in Olympia about what you're going to do in the orchard nowadays. It's like,
Yeah,
have you ever been to it?
Yeah, you were talking to me about
Yeah.
how I hadn't thought about that at all, but back when there was, I don't know what is there now. There's guthion and paraquat back in the day. I don't know what you.
You don't have guthion anymore. Paraquat, you have to take a separate class to apply paraquat. Now.
Right. So here's my
Yeah.
theory on it. You take it away because it's cost too much to relicense or it's too dangerous or whatever. They dilute it, change the name, sell it back to you. And now you have to
Something
put
else.
7 covers on instead of 2.
Yeah,
Is there some truth to that? Or no?
yeah. A lot of the chemicals that you use now are specific to one thing. In the old days, your dad, my dad, they'd spray without a respirator and without earplugs, and they'd kill everything, But now you're very specific, and we have gotten way better. Like I might put 1 cover on, unless my neighbor has trees that they didn't spray.
Like a organic.
Oh, neighbor.
Yeah. So, but like we put pheromone in trees now, so every tree has an emitter in it, a little.
For codling moth?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and it emits the scent of a female moth.
Well,
So when the male moth comes
Interesting.
in the orchard, he can't find her because it smells like
oh, so
Ew.
they're
Smells
not
like the-
procreating.
yeah. It's like when Rusty used to go to the bars. No, I'm good. And
Porky's Revenge, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? They're like,
Oh,
and things like that.
Oh, that's
or you see the
interesting.
Too many
pears.
girls.
You see the pears with all the white on them.
Yeah.
That's clay, and the
Like a dust?
yeah, you mix clay and water and spray it on there. Well, the bug for pears, the persilla, doesn't like that texture, and it won't lay their eggs on it.
But it doesn't do anything to the fruit.
No,
wash
it
it off.
washes off of it. So
But-
we've gotten away from that pesticide
but at
thing.
the same time, you've got 8 different things to spray in one spray now
Yeah.
that costs you 8x.
No,
Yeah.
he just said he's down to 1.
Well, I mean, each
One spray, but there's 8 chemicals.
Well, no, you're still doing things like you're still doing
The expense is the
fertilizer,
problem.
spray stuff. Yeah, it's all changed completely. It's
The amount, what is it, like you were talking to maybe, like I was a long time ago, it was like $75 a bin to grow fruit back then when I was farming. So it's $300 a bin?
You can probably do it less than 300 if depends on the variety. Certain varieties have more maintenance to them. They got baby them a lot more.
And then the regulations, housing,
Yeah,
labor. minimum
everybody
wage.
used to have housing, and now nobody can anymore.
Yeah.
It's too expensive to
Yeah.
to fit their regulations.
Yeah, I bring all this stuff up because when people like judge a farmer for pulling out his orchard, which we're going to see more of that, unfortunately, because
Yeah.
the last year's crop. I just want people to know that there's so much more to this story than that farmer just saying, I can't wait to sell it to a developer. Well, first of all, the developer's probably not buying it because the bureaucracy's, and it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And that often leads the seller, the person that's been, blood, sweat, tears for the last 3 generations,
Yeah.
out of luck and sometimes bankrupt. Because and then the next person that buys it from the bank does well. So it's not. When I see people, like I hear it a lot, like people are judging that person for selling. Look, if you have no money,
You only got a couple
think-
choices.
you
That's
know,
sad that you hear that.
it's sad.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
sad. And a lot of it's just uneducated.
That's a trend.
Right?
It's a trend, and I don't think it is necessarily meant to be harsh towards the orchardist.
I think just there's a lack of awareness. That's why I
I
wanna always
think
bring
it's
it up.
just more they're upset at the loss
There's
in
that too.
general.
No, that's-
Yeah,
And
and
they
the
really
change.
don't know how to channel it.
Yeah, I get that.
And the change of just like we talk about it every podcast. How has this town changed? How's this area changed? What do you like about it? What you don't like about it? And that's just one of the things when people see more of them get pulled out and it gets
It is
changed.
sad.
They are
It makes
just
me
sad.
sad.
Oh yeah, it's no
Makes
question.
me sad.
Yeah.
It used to be
It's been going on a long time.
400 growers in Trout Blue Chelan. And what do they got? I bet you they don't have 40. I bet it's less than that. It's a lot of big farms.
And when the corporations get taken out by the multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, and then like pretty soon it's hedge funds, and then it's just a different game.
Well,
and if it wasn't for the wineries, I mean, this is not new. There have been people losing since the 80s or early 90s, 98 probably. 98 crop year of 98 was pretty crappy. That's when it dropped to like reds got down to like $1.25 a loose, and the year before that, I think the lowest was like $3 at Trout before that in history. So like that was NAFTA and all these consolidations. But if it wasn't for those winery vineyard grower, agritourism,
Yeah.
you would have seen a lot more devastation.
Oh yeah, a lot more bare ground. Yeah.
Yeah. So this isn't new. It's just like I think this last
Yeah.
last crop year was just like
We
so
always
tough.
we talk about it, and my dad, probably your dad too, the eternal optimist.
They are.
But that crop next year, I'll bet it'll come back. I will do this, and then
Isn't that what you guys always talk about? That's like the gamble.
yeah.
Every year is like
you
the
just
gamble.
rolling the
I mean,
dice.
I think
Yeah.
all farmers,
All farmers roll the dice.
all kinds of farmers.
It used to be though 1 out of 3 would pay for 2.
Yeah.
Now you
Cherry guys, if they hit it once every 7, and now they. Yeah.
now you break even. That's a
Yeah.
good year. Like that, it's sad.
It's just it's more of a roller coaster than it used to be, and now
chasing variety.
Right now we're down. Right now we're back down in that bottom right now.
My dad used to say, "Hey, do you ever go to Las Vegas?" He goes, "You mean to not watch a rodeo?" Like, no, to gamble. He goes, "Shit, I gamble every day."
Exactly.
Mother Nature.
Rolling the dice every
Throw-
morning.
Meet a
Hey,
farmer.
frost season's coming up.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
go? Did you grow up with your dad having fruit in Howard Flats, right?
Yeah.
So did you, when you were a kid, did you go out there lighting smudge pots?
We never had the smudge pots per se.
Use
We had wind
wind
machines,
machines, yeah.
that you had to get started.
We were in Okie Flats, so we had.
Oh,
like-
you-
Yeah, the smudge pots.
yeah, it's still cold out there. It's probably. I bet you there was ice in Okie Flats this morning.
yeah.
I
That was
can hear
beautiful, though.
across the lake. I can hear Geber's machines at night, in the morning, early in the morning.
I think of those guys and how many cherries they have, and all the cherry farmers. Every time clouds come over, until I thought hail was bad, but they got some. You talk about gamblers.
Yeah.
Greg would call and say, "Hey, can you bring your sprayer up and dry a couple blocks of cherries?" Well, we're waiting for the helicopter, whatever. And I'd spend 8 hours in 2 blocks of cherries, blowing water. Helicopter would come in, and there was still the water would go flying. It's like, wait a minute, I just spent 8 hours.
Yeah,
with
you
that.
blew this way.
Yeah, I guess the helicopter. So yeah, it's a
For people that don't get it, what does that mean? Why do you do that?
well. You got to get the water off the cherry out of the bowl, stem bowl, or it'll split.
And
if
then you
splits, it's
throw it
gone.
away.
It's gone.
Yeah, you don't.
And it's hail, frost. If you get a frost at bloom time, yeah,
For people that don't know it, like you go up McNeil Canyon and where they dump the apples.
yeah.
I had investors and people from Seattle come over and they're like, "Why are they throwing all these apples away? I don't get it." I'm like,
Yeah,
Do you want me to educate you?
There's a
yeah.
lot going on right now.
It's a gamble every day, but you brought it up. It's just the lifestyle. It's what it's what I know. It's your own deal. I'm not having somebody tell me what to do every day, or
So what's the empty nesters almost? You're kind of.
Well, Zoe's back with the business.
You're an
thing,
entrepreneur again, so you got a new business with Zoe.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't know. We're still busier. Well, part of it is my kids are playing sports in college, so
Yeah,
we're
and you're
gone.
pulled here and pulled there.
Yeah.
and-
So, but as soon as they're done with that, like Quinn will be done in November, and he'll probably be gone. His girlfriend has a nursing degree, and so they're probably going to go somewhere.
So you're still going to be pulled and gone.
I
and
know.
going
So, and Shelly keeps. Well, they'll all come back here. I go. I don't know if they will or not. Yeah.
So they pulled Frank
It'll
back
be
into coaching
interesting.
this year. When are you going to start coaching again?
I helped Frank this winter.
Did you?
So they tried to get me to take it, and it was the point where my dad was sick, and I just said I can't commit to that.
Because he had
every day.
Abby and her husband.
And so Abby and her husband, and Frank said he told me, he said, "I'll take the job if Abby and Byron can come over with some volleyball girls." There was only a few
heard,
girls turning
yeah.
out. So
I heard.
and then he called me and he goes, "I'll take it if you come and help me." So I've helped him before when Abby was playing.
He's a hell of a coach. Man.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's so much fun.
He's
Frank's one of the
funny
funniest
guy.
guys I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just because I grew up with him.
Yeah.
No, Frank's funny.
Frank is hilarious.
There's a Phillips funny bone.
Yeah, he's
And then you look at Zach and you're like,
oh, they're
You
walking.
mean Mini-Me?
Yeah.
They are. It's hilarious.
He's like absorbed the walk, the
Watched
body
him-
posture.
We watched him
the-
coach at Manson, and it was just like, Frank. Oh wait, no, that's that.
I know, don't you?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
that's
So
awesome.
cute.
No, it was fun. I could show up whenever I wanted. The girls think, "Who's this old guy?" That, yeah, and then would drop.
Yeah, well,
something.
now you think about like what's going on in the girls basketball. You spent a lot of years Hall of Fame coach, and now you see girls basketball just taking off, right? Like,
Oh, the women's thing, the WNBA and all that stuff. It's changed. I got to the point for a while that I didn't even like to watch girls basketball. I think, are my teams that bad? And then I go, wait a minute, I guess, no, they're probably not. Yeah, it's coming back around.
Yeah.
There's money involved, and so more people are going to,
I wonder what that feels like, because as a, basketball was my love, but as a girl,
Yeah.
there's an end, and then it comes real fast.
Yeah, there's, what are the percentages of kids that play high school, playing college? It's like, what, 2%?
Yes.
And then from college to pros is like less than 1. Yeah.
Right? And so, now that women have a chance to continue on, I just wonder what that feels like to know that.
Yeah. Well, we used to say, if you can't play anymore, you coach, and if you can't coach anymore, you yell at the refs, or I don't know, something like that. So.
Well, it says you had 149 wins and 77 losses in your coaching career. I think that's college, must be. Or is that high school?
No, that would Wenatchee was like 149. I don't think we had 77, but that's okay. Yeah.
Internet.
Highline.
Exhibition.
I know at Highline in 3 years we only lost 13.
That's a pretty
games.
amazing record, though, bud. Even if it was 77.
Well, then I got humbled pretty fast. So when I took the job at Chelan High School, and I did that for 6 years, they'd won 1 game in 4 years.
Sounds
total.
about right.
And so it took us a while to get it going. I lost more games in the first 2 years than I did at Wenatchee in 8 years, I think.
I lost every game my senior year at Manson.
Well,
It was I had a
better.
different
No, I'm just
coach
kidding.
every year
yeah,
from 8th grade to 12th grade.
that's what happened at Chelan.
And just, it was just kind of like a afterthought.
Yeah.
Girls basketball was kind of an afterthought then.
Yeah.
Who's going to get the math teacher this year? Conned him into doing
Yeah.
it,
Well, the athleticism is improving. And
Well,
But you got to have consistency. I mean, the program has to have
Yeah.
I just
something.
found that changing the mindset was harder than changing the skills.
Yeah.
Kids just were used to losing.
uh-huh.
And so that's how
Yeah.
they approached it. And so you
Yes.
had to change that mindset
Yeah.
more than you had to change their skills.
To get more competitive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would just.
Well,
When I first started,
just slouched
Kyle Plew
over
was coaching the girls at Manson, and we were buddies, and we started a little thing 2 nights a week where we're just trying to get girls to play. And we would bring in, say, Brewster, and they'd play him, and then we'd play him, and everybody get a couple games. And I remember a girl told me it was too far to drive to Manson to play. Like, oh, okay, I guess I got a bigger issue here than I thought.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's going to take me a little longer than I thought.
Yeah. I've talked to Des about that and her volleyball stuff. and
Yeah.
How it's kind of gone,
Yeah.
different. And parents have a lot to do with that, right? In smaller communities, the parents.
Yeah.
It's kind of like classes when you're young. Some classes have a bunch of guys that are rowdy, and some
Yeah.
guys are this and that, and it runs in waves. It's hard. It is hard to stay consistent.
It is.
In a small town, but at the same time, everybody gets to participate that wants to participate
Yeah.
for the most part,
Yeah.
and that's the
That's
win,
true
right?
too.
One of my favorite coaching deals was 8th grade boys, because I did kindergarten. I did everything after. I mean, it was
When
no
you had
big-
your own kids.
Yeah, and other kids. I did volunteer at the middle school. Yeah. I remember 8th grade. I think Reed was my youngest, was in that group, and we didn't lose any games. But I thought our biggest accomplishment, because you said everybody can.
Yeah.
We had 22 kids turn out the first day, and I had 22 kids on the last day. And that to me was more important than we won all these games and
Yeah.
everybody got to play and whatever. But
I've had
some of those kids will never pick up a basketball again. But hopefully
Maybe.
they'll look back in 8th grade. God, remember how much fun that was?
Yeah.
I've mentioned this before, but I've met a lot of entrepreneurs from the West Side in real estate here, and they've said that some of their recruiters were looking for people from smaller schools
Oh,
because or people that did after school activities, sports, music, because they just were more balanced. They had more diversity.
Than just one track.
the resume nowadays. You talk about your resume has to be multifaceted. Did you do community service? Did you volunteer somewhere? Were you the class president?
Yeah.
Were you on the committees and
Clubs.
not just the basketball captain or the?
So you're not going to take your ball and go home every time something strikes,
So-
adversity hits. And
Well,
leave.
you see colleges going that way now. A lot of them aren't even looking at SATs anymore.
How do you feel about that NIL and the portal?
I don't really like it. I'm a basketball guy. Well, I'm a sports guy, but basketball, I like to get to know some kids.
Yeah.
How many kids do we know besides the kid from Duke this year? Maybe a kid from Houston, but you don't, because they're not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Next year they're gone. And
So it's good in the way, like, what's the pluses and minuses?
I think the kids
make money.
Kids deserve some money. Now, do they deserve $4 million? I don't know about that, but they busted their butt for 4 years. And the school's using their jersey to sell. Sure, they should probably get some money, but it'd be nice to be able to watch and recognize these kids at their growth.
I remember from my era, it was Duke with Christian Leitner and that whole.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
They were
like
there 4
the
years.
North Carolina
Bobby
and the Duke and these were like dream teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you got behind them and you were with them.
Yeah.
And that part's
It's kind of like that in the NBA too in the 80s.
that part's missing.
You had the Michael Jordans and the Magic Johnsons and the Larry Birds.
Larry Birds.
It's a little different
Then you
now.
could watch it.
Yeah, I can't.
I haven't
watch
watched the game. I even got to the point where even when Joey was, I would watch only Brooklyn.
I would only watch Joey.
And then
That's my only
toward the
NBA.
end of Joey's career, I'd even quit watching. If Joey was subbed out, I'd go somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how I
That
am
was the
too.
only. I can't watch the NBA
Me
anymore.
either.
So.
I once in a while go back on YouTube and watch the old games.
Oh, you could watch Larry Bird highlights all day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love how they have highlights.
I'll
I
send
can
them
watch
to
a
my
10-minute mashup of like all the greats. Just boom, boom, boom.
And how competitive they were, like
Yeah.
Larry Bird's. I
I
love
love
that
that
quote
shit
between Larry
talking.
Bird and Magic Johnson. They're best friends, and Larry Bird said they're best friends off the court. He goes, "Yeah, I love Irvin Johnson. I hate Magic Johnson because as soon as they get on the court,
Yeah.
they're not friends anymore."
Yeah, right.
It's like Bird coming out for a 3-point contest. Said, "Who's playing for second?"
I heard that.
You know, he's looking around. Who's going to get second?
I just,
You know,
I
it's
love
just-
all of that. That trash talk is just
Yeah.
like soul food for me.
Yeah. I don't know. It's different.
Well, I know when I was down there, we had a great time, and have always been a good friend, and your
Yeah.
dad and mom are terrific, and your sister, and
Yeah.
we've been talking here for almost
Been a
2
good
hours,
run.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, those are some of the greatest memories I have. And I was just going to tell you, I always thought that Ramey made your life easier. Because he was so out of control that Steve's like, shit, I can do like anything I want.
Yeah, I'm gonna look good.
There was some guys before and after Ramey that didn't make my life very good, but
That happens.
coach, we'd charter on a bus, and the men's coach would show up an half an hour late. He'd say, "Well, you guys don't really need that much warm up, do you?" Like, well, wait a minute.
What?
I'm 11-2. You're 4-8. I think maybe you should let me do my warm up. Yeah,
Yeah.
just it's part of the deal.
But you got along with them good, didn't you?
Oh yeah, we did good. We had good kids, good
Both of
people helping me.
Both drinking Rainier beer and having fun.
Oh, Ramey was one of a kind. His coach, I still talk to him.
Ramey, I miss you. I'm going to come see you.
Yeah.
I'm
send it to
gonna
him.
answer
I've got
this
his number.
question for you, but because it sounds like if you could do it all over again, you wouldn't change much.
No, heck no.
Yeah.
No. It was easier for me to fix the farming coaching thing because of the time. I could do it, but that's part of the reason I got out of Wenatchee. You got recruiting in the spring and you got conditioning in the fall, and we were buying more orchard, and we were picking 4,000 bins. And I remember that first year I had the job in Wenatchee, I moved the conditioning class from the afternoon to the evening so I could harvest all day,
Oh my
drive to
gosh.
Wenatchee, do 2 hours of conditioning, drive back, blah, blah, blah. Second year I said, Coach Cannon, I'll come for the first day, and then they're yours until I'm done
Yes.
with harvest. So it just, got to that point. But
Love your Ramey. You didn't need a basketball. You just make him run, Jim. Just
Ramey.
make him run. You don't need basketballs for basketball practice.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about? That's stupid.
I remember one time, well, we talked about this yesterday. We're in Pendleton, Oregon, of all places, Blue Mountain Community College. Of course, in the stands are his dad and my dad. They'd driven 4 hours
I mean, I
just
love it.
to watch
That's what you do.
me coach and him play.
And Ramey coach.
and Ramey coach.
He was more entertaining than we were.
And they lost the boys lost a tough game, and he was so mad that he wouldn't he wouldn't go in and eat with us after the game. He sat on the bus for a while, and then maybe I shouldn't tell you the rest of it.
There's a lot of stories I was thinking about, but I can't. Do you remember when he put the AD up against the wall in Walla Walla? And they had the police escort
because all the football players were all.
Frank to this day swears he didn't flip off the football players, and I think he did. And he's like, I did not. And I said, you did.
He's going to take on 40, 50.
Yeah. Well, that's the mindset that Ramey gave you.
Yeah.
Like you were absolutely invincible.
Yeah.
That Bud Hover Award, do you remember that?
How many times did you work on taking a charge?
Ever.
And how many charges did you take?
How many do you think I took? I wasn't blocking a lot of shots.
And part of it is Rusty got pretty good at being an actor a little bit. So
the flop?
The flop. He could do that pretty well. It might be at center court and you'd get a charge. Yeah.
5'11".
Yeah.
Can you still?
I kind of remember Ramey going like this to me.
Yeah.
Nice work. And I'm like, what does that mean? He goes like, you jumped over 2 pieces of toast.
White bread. Can you still demonstrate the flop?
No, I probably can't.
You can't get up, though.
I'd have to go see Dale's kid at the chiropractor.
Yeah.
I took some serious charges, man. Those were some big boys. I was like 155 maybe. Soaking wet.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, but
Frank playing on a bad ankle.
Yeah, we were
I can
beat up.
still remember, and I tell Frank this all the time. You didn't have a lot of bench. You had a bunch of ragamuffin guys. You got 2 guys off the football team to try and rebound for him. Reject guy. This guy hadn't played in 2 years. He's on the team. So they didn't really have much of a bench.
Like a Bad News Bears sounds
so
like.
I could just remember you guys are on the free throw lane. Frank's on there, and there's a guy going to check in for you guys. I don't even know who it was. And Frank was exhausted. And they blow the horn, and Frank's like, oh.
He's going out, man.
Started to go, and oh no, he's not coming in for you, Frank. He's coming. I can just see Frank. Oh, you guys had so much fun.
How many clipboards do you think he broke?
I think there's still an outstanding bill at Central for $600 for the grease board.
Oh yeah, I remember that was at Central.
In the garbage can at Central.
Well, I think that Ramey, you can tell me if I see you, but I think when he was screaming at us, which was like that's normal, but he hit the he hit.
That's what started it.
He accidentally broke it, I think.
And he decided that since he broke it, he might as well just
break it,
tear it apart.
So he put a couple punches through it.
Yeah.
Then he karate kicked it. And smashed against the wall.
Garbage can.
Like 15.
Yeah. I remember the AD down there he said, what's this bill for $600 at Central in the locker room?
Let's not talk about it.
Cheap shit.
Yeah. Those are good times.
At the end, though, Frank and I would sit there before practice just trying to scheme a way to not have to go to practice. But then we knew if we missed one day,
you're going to pay for it.
The next day would be horrible. Yeah. Like that's how level of conditioning when you don't know. Like that was a different time too. We were talking about that where we didn't have nutritionists and it was like so when he knew that he didn't have a lot of pure athletes, he just knew that we were going to be in better shape than anybody ever. Yeah. And I think it would be hard pressed to be in better shape than we were.
He made, I think he made a Final Four in California one time.
Yeah.
And that's pretty hard to do in California with junior college.
Yeah, if you could play for him, like a lot of kids couldn't play for him.
Right.
Because he was Bobby Knight-ish.
Yeah.
And they just mentally couldn't handle it. And he always used to, I remember him yelling at me all the time, and I was getting pissed, and we're teenagers, right? So they come from Manson and Mark Marney, and, he was like a buddy.
Marty could get after you.
He'd get after me too, but not at the Ramey level, right? So then Mark he did his thing. But I remember he pulled me into his office one time. He goes, remember this, Ramey? He goes, hey, when you're out on the court, you got to keep your mouth shut when I'm screaming at you. I know you can take it. But in here, you want to hit me? You want to fight? Let's fight. We'll pull the blinds. We won't tell anybody. Yeah, let's go. I know you want to fight me. Let's go.
Oh, my.
And he knew I didn't. He was just trying to tell me, like, there were so many lessons like that for life. Like, hey, look, you're going to run into life, and life's not going to be your friend. You're going to have adversity, and you're going to have to dig deep. And he changed all of our lives. No, I would say all of our lives were changed by that one guy in that 1 year. And I was very lucky.
Well, and look how you guys turned out. I think you turned out all right.
Well, survived. I mean,
You know who
went through
Carol
ups and downs.
Lawson is? She's the women's coach at Duke now. And she has a great quote. She said, life is not easy. It doesn't get any easier. You just get better at handling hard.
Yeah.
You just get better at handling hard. So.
You know, my son said the other day, I just want to be a grown-up.
Oh, geez.
And I went, oh, here we go. It's happening, you know. I just want to be, can I just be 16 so I can drive myself wherever I want? I said, bud, I'm going to tell you this over and over, apparently starting now. Being a kid is so cool.
Yeah.
You know, being a kid is so cool because let me tell you what comes with you driving that car. You're going to buy the car. You've got insurance. You've got gas. You've got responsibilities. You've got new levels of jobs you got to do to maintain the car, to keep the car, to clean the car, to da-da-da.
And then 40 years later, you got a podcast, and some guy says he went in front of you at two wheels.
Yeah, right? And you find out. So
That was
it's like, oh, gosh, could you just be a kid again?
Have him, like you, Steve, say, hey, go ask ChatGPT why it's good to be a kid. Use that phone to your advantage.
There you
My
go.
kid doesn't have a phone or any
See,
access to
that's-
AI.
As long as you
so
can last. Yeah,
we
that's
don't
great.
even have Siri or no. There's none of
Good luck
that.
with
We
that.
don't talk to robots in my house.
Quinn got a phone early because he got left in the gym. He was manager for Joe. And he was only like second grade.
Yeah.
And we talked Joe into letting him. And we were in Vegas at the rodeo. And my mom dropped Evan, his uncle, or his cousin, who's now the AD
Yeah.
here, and Quinn off at the gym. So
For the basketball game.
Evan got on the bus. Quinn went in the gym to see if Joe needed any help with any more equipment. Joe had gone out the back door and walked around to the bus,
Missing him.
missing Quinn. So the bus takes off and Quinn's in the gym by himself.
Whoops, a daisy.
So I get a call from Tanya Greenfield.
Oh, yeah.
She was helping with the girls program, and she goes, "How's Quinn?" I'm in Vegas at dinner at Binion's or somewhere. I go, "Quinn, he's fine." She goes, "Well, I heard he got locked in the locker room." I go, "What?"
Oh, boy.
I'm in Vegas.
Yeah.
What's going on? And I could tell through the phone.
Yeah.
I could
Or,
tell.
oh, shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I immediately start calling around. My sister won't answer the phone. My brother-in-law won't answer the phone. And Linda, my sister, sees him pull the bus come in because Evan's playing and at Wenatchee, a district game, and early game, something. And she goes down there to the other kids on the managers. Where's Quinn? I don't know. So they didn't know if he was on the bus.
Oh, geez, scary.
Yeah. So,
What's Quinn doing this whole time? Just sitting in the gym?
well,
Shooting hoop.
he shot hoops for quite a while.
Made him the athlete he is.
He
That's a great
knew
job,
from
Quinn.
his mom being a teacher that you could dial out. If you dialed 9, the phone in the closet in the equipment room. But I think he was nervous, and he would dial 9 in the number. You got to dial 9 and wait for the next tone.
Yeah.
And so after he got tired of shooting hoops, he made a bed out of pads. There's all the pads. In there. Well, he's kind of laying there. I think he was probably upset a little bit. But
Sure.
my sister finally got a hold of another teacher in town.
Can
And
you go?
can you go use your keys and go? And sure enough, he was in the gym. And so,
He got used to being a gym rat.
yeah.
So, hence,
Yeah.
Quinn got a phone.
Couldn't got a phone a little earlier than we'd have liked to. But
When Grace and I had Taylor, she was young. We went into town. For some reason, I thought she had her. She was like 3 or 4. We lived on the river. I get to the gym or something, and she gets to the gym. I go, "Where's Taylor?"
well, yeah.
Like 3-year-old's not good.
Yeah.
She's just sitting there watching video, like eating ice cream. Must have been 3 or 4 eating ice cream. And she's like, "You left me."
Oh, boy. Oh,
I
boy.
mean, I swear.
She's
these
still-
are the parent
She did not
moments
let
that
you live that down
it's like
now, I'm sure.
Your heart
I know.
Grace was like,
Yeah.
like
is
Home Alone
outside
3,
of your
you know?
body
Yeah.
with fear. We've all had them.
Yep. But we're lucky to have them in where they are and how
I
they
agree.
turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Even
to
how
them.
Rusty turned out.
Yeah, look,
yeah.
I'm still warming up.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's still moving.
oh boy. boy.
Still
Let's
getting
go.
better every day.
Steve,
Look at this guy talking.
No, I love you. I just love your whole demeanor, your character. You're just
Yeah, I
someone
feel,
that always has a smile on their face.
I just feel I'm pretty damn lucky.
That's what I'm going
Yeah.
to say. I sense the
Yeah.
gratitude
Yeah.
coming off of you. You got a
Yeah.
great family.
So that Shelley.
It's just a pleasure
Yeah.
to know you. Really.
Yeah.
And I'll be coming to get a dirty soda.
She doesn't
Yep.
even.
Yeah.
I don't think Shelly even knows I'm out here. So
Oh, well, she'll know in a minute.
She'll-
I'll tag her on the Facebook.
we'll tag her on Facebook.
She'll know in a minute.
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
Steve.
thanks for having me.
Thank
yeah,
you
nice
so
to meet
much.
everybody.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Hopefully we didn't bore everybody to death.
No,
Oh,
absolutely
boy.
not.
All right, signing off one more time.